What's
Hi,
up, Sunday
everybody.
night?
Welcome
How
to
you guys doing?
Sundays at 6. Tonight we are live from my parents' hunting room in Louisiana. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I celebrate recovery from the grief of a divorce, poor relationship choices, and the consequences of those choices. And I still struggle with, just not being able to control things. My name is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
And who's this guy? What? I don't even recognize him.
My face is naked.
Happened on this trip, and it just happened. I'm not even. Tonight I'm going to be interviewing a stranger. He has not had a clean-shaven face ever.
I shaved one time. Remember?
One time.
And you said never do it again. And then this time you're like, do it. You should shave it. And now here we are. Nothing on my face. It's all clean and well, it's not even smooth anymore.
It's
like rough now.
He's going to be growing that beard back immediately. No, it's acceptance. Come as you are today, Chad. This is Chad, in case you don't recognize him.
Hi, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with drugs, alcohol, lust, and food issues.
And being accepted without facial hair.
I'm triggered. I'm triggered already tonight.
So it's okay. You're going to want to watch because you can't look away from his face.
Who is that guy?
It's really hard.
I can't recognize him.
He keeps making comments too. At any rate, we're on a little bit of a vacation, kind of. We got our ball caps on. I didn't even do my hair. But we're here, and we are going to walk you through. We got a good night tonight planned. Chad is the interview tonight. I know leader
She's
interview.
Gonna interview me.
You guys requested you want to get to know Chad better. And so step one of that was to unmask himself.
At the stop sign, turn right.
Should we turn right at the stop sign?
Why?
Oh my goodness.
Why
My phone
Siri
is wanting to take us somewhere.
Giving us directions.
This is incredible.
We don't need to go
Let's
anywhere.
not go
at the
anywhere
stop
tonight.
Sign. Okay.
I'm going to end the route.
A couple of
All
announcements.
Right. We are on vacation, though.
If this is your first time, we do want to remind you that social media isn't completely anonymous or confidential. So if you want to stay anonymous, you can always watch after our hour is done recording on the Facebook feed. Then it doesn't pop up that you're watching. Also, we record this to YouTube. We remember this time. We've been having a little post-it.
We actually did it.
So there'll be a YouTube link that you can watch, and so you can remember that going forward, or you can pass that on to somebody who wants to watch who might not be on Facebook or might want to keep anonymity and confidentiality. If that is not you and you're okay, we love the community that is created, even in the comment section, everybody's saying hi to each other, and so that's something that we'd love to see. So if you feel comfortable, we would love to say hi to you, and we would love to see you say hi to each other, and so that's something there. Also, we know that the Celebrate part of Celebrate Recovery is getting a chip and sharing that celebration time with each other. So during the worship set at the beginning or towards the end, when we cut over to Justin, the Crosstown Band, he's never commented that he even likes that name. So now his silence is starting to tell me that he might not. I might need some affirmation he's okay with being the Crosstown Band. The solo, by the way.
It is the Crosstown Band.
It is, though. At any rate,
How do
we
we do it
cut to
different than
him.
that?
If you were celebrating 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year, or multiple years, we would love to celebrate with you. If you feel comfortable by posting whatever the chip is in the comment section, we would love to mail you a chip. If you want to private message us, we would love to celebrate with you. That's the announcements. We don't know yet when we're going to get to meet in person again. We have had a really good discussion around watching what happens with schools coming back in. There's going to be a lot of change for families as we go back into schools and as we try to go back into the fall and see what that looks like. And so I would wager to say that I guess I shouldn't wager
Maybe not.
in a recovery program. So there's no wagers. I'm just guessing that we're going to kind of ride out the first few weeks of school, see how that goes, and then possibly try some small step study groups to start before we roll into doing a more large group setting. And so we'll keep you posted on that. We do miss you all in person and look forward to it. But in the meantime, Sundays at 6, right here from wherever we are right now, it's in Louisiana.
Well, and man, you guys, it looks like it's working a little better this week than it did last week. So apologies again for last week.
I was lit up. For those of you who didn't know, I was pretty frustrated, not only at him, at the whole situation. And so it was
we were mad that it was breaking
We
up.
did get a few requests in the future to fight more online, so you guys might see us. Maybe tonight we'll just pick or something. You know, we get along mostly. We like each other.
Except when I shave. This could get really bad
I don't even know who this man is. It's
Oh my
very weird.
gosh.
Okay, we're going to read through. The next part of this is our 12 steps.
Yes, 12
We're doing
steps.
the 12 steps. So we're going to alternate back and forth. We have to look over here to read them. He's going to switch it to there.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this real quick.
Hopefully it'll work.
Give me just a second.
This is going to be like that picture-in-picture thing. If it works, if not,
I think it's working. Look at
I'll
that.
publicly
Look at
shame
that.
him. That will be the...
It'll help me a lot. That'll help me a ton. If you
Sometimes
could just
shame
tell
is
me
a
it's not
motivator.
working.
Did it work in your family of origin? It definitely worked in mine.
Anyway.
All right, step 1. I'm going to go first. Step 1 in the 12 steps. Please read the verse if you're watching and you want to participate. We'll start with step 1. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction and compulsive behaviors and that our lives had become unmanageable. The scripture together. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me. That is in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Romans 7:18.
And step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. For
it is God who works in you to will and act in order to fulfill his good purpose. Philippians 2:13. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Romans 12:1.
Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves.
Let us examine our ways and test them. Let us return to the Lord. Lamentations 3:40. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. James 5:16.
Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. James 4:10. Step 7, we humbly asked him to remove all our shortcomings. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. 1 John 1:9.
Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all.
Do to others as you would have them do to you.
Luke 6:31. Luke 6:31.
6:31. Step 9, we make a direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Luke 6:31. Oh, I'm getting the numbers all messed up.
Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it.
So if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. 1 Corinthians 10:12. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly. Colossians 3:16. And step 12, having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you may also be tempted. Galatians 6:1.
All right.
All right, that went smoothly.
That wasn't too bad.
No, I got a couple of the numbers off, but I feel like we're rolling here.
Well, when things don't break up really bad and freak us out.
I love these paintings behind us. I think that's a pheasant and a duck. The whole image. There were some furs on the couch behind us, but I thought that
There's
we
like
might.
a bear over there and a fox and some moose and
we don't
deer.
have all the. We might bring some furs in after
old
this
wooden
next
decoys
shot.
in here. It's interesting.
Except they're not fake furs, so
Anyway.
I didn't know if I should list them or show them.
That's a skin though.
What kind of skin?
I don't know. It's like a hide. Maybe it's cow or something. I don't know.
Lovely.
It's not hard to shoot a cow though. They're just standing there in a field.
We digress.
Anyway.
Why would you shoot
I'm
a cow?
just saying, like if it's a cow skin, it doesn't make sense to be in a hunting room.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Although
At
whatever.
any rate, let's move forward, shall we? Okay, we're going to kick it over now. Not only is he the crosstown band, but now he's the crossland band because we're going from Louisiana all the way up to Arkansas to hear Justin lead us in some worship tonight. Remember, if you're celebrating something, we'd love to celebrate it with you. So in the comments below, let us know what it is that you have sobriety or clean time from so we can do a shout out for you. Justin, take it away.
King above all. hungry child. I dried up a river. I was a burned out forest. No one could do anything for me. You put food on my body, water in my dry bed, and to my blackened branches, you brought the springtime green of new life. Nothing is impossible for you. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death.
I don't know. I'm going to figure that out. Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome back.
Thanks, Justin. Man, you always do a great job. We
You really do.
appreciate it.
I like the light blue tones today.
Yep.
It seems like it's a very summery show tonight. Do we call it a show? What do we call this? I've called it a show a couple times, and I think that's the wrong thing.
I don't
A
know.
live expression here at Celebrate Recovery
Expression.
at New Heights Church. All right, we got new shirts on again. We've been wearing our new
I
Celebrate
think I might have
Recovery
worn this
shirts.
one. Maybe not.
You can.
Come
I wore
rejoice.
that one last week, not yours. My version of that same shirt.
This one would have been huge on you.
Yeah, so this is another one too. United in Recovery all over the country. If you haven't had a chance or were interested but thought you missed it, the Celebrate Recovery Summit has been going on this weekend, and they are actually extending registration and keeping. They were live videos that you could watch that were happening. Quite a few of the leaders were in Mission Viejo, California, from where they sent the videos out and did incredible teachings. Rodney, Johnny, John Baker, Mac and Mary, all of our favorite
The crew.
national
Yep.
leaders. They were delivering an incredible summit, and it is still available. They've extended it. So if you want to get on the Celebrate Recovery National website, you can register for that and watch some of the really great teaches just on maybe you want to become a leader. Maybe you want to know how to get the most out of Celebrate Recovery. Maybe you want to get some more specific topics. They had several different breakout groups that were issue specific tips on how to get some more success in your recovery. They highlighted the Landing, Celebration Station, which is our children's ministry, CRI, which is CR Inside. They have all
Tons
kinds
of
of
stuff. Yeah.
options. Also, you can get the gear online. We get it. We wear our gear everywhere so people know that we're in Celebrate
Repping
Recovery.
it.
This hat, although, is a retro hat that was on clearance last year.
Can't
There
get that
aren't anymore.
Yeah.
And I love it. I've had it now for a little while. I'm proud of it. Okay, so tonight we're going to roll right into, this is our third leader interview. A month ago now, I think, we interviewed Dana. That was when we were live from Colorado. We're just going all over the place.
What's up with that?
I don't know. We
I
got
guess we're not tied to anything right now.
cabin
Anyway.
fever. We are remaining isolated in our places where we go, though. So
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
good. We've got-
Anyway, we're doing a leader interview.
Yes, we are. We're doing a leader interview. A month ago we did Dana, then 2 weeks ago Lisa, and a few of you said interview Chad. So
We just do what you guys say.
I have my list
Give
here.
the people what
I think
they
I just
want.
wrote on my new shirt,
you did too.
and I'm going to ask some questions. Let's see what time it is. It is 6:20. We're going to try to keep this in the right
We
amount of
look
time.
there, too, if we need
because
to.
if you get Chad and I talking,
Whew, we talk a lot sometimes.
it might be a long show. So We're going to
Let's do
dive
it.
right in. I'm
Let's
going
do
to
it.
try to interview Chad as though he's just a leader at CR and not my husband. And I think it helps because
It's hard to do.
I hardly recognize
Yeah.
his face. So
Yeah.
that's good. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Angela.
We probably shouldn't sit this close if you don't.
I know we're really
No,
close
it's okay.
because we have a tight little spot here on this couch with this skin
Animal
behind us.
skin.
Okay, let's dive in.
I'm not against that, but it just
Chad.
feels weird. Anyway, go ahead.
Against the animal skins?
Well, because I'm sitting forward. Never mind. Let's just keep going. I could do this all.
Against it, not against it.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, see.
Hey.
How did you find? How'd you get to Celebrate Recovery? What was your path to CR? I've asked that for the last two.
Well, I was in the process of trying to figure life out. You know, I had kind of gotten a DUI in 2009 or 8, I can't remember, and had tried to stop drinking before that, and just kind of like things were not going well. And I was like, I'm going to try to figure some other ways to do this differently. And as I kind of did that, I thought about changing some stuff, grad school and some other things I was doing. But as I was in grad school, I met Angela,
The
my wife
chatty
now,
Celebrate Recovery girl.
who would talk about Celebrate Recovery some. But I didn't really listen to that part in class, and I wasn't really interested in another program or another thing. But I ended up being interested in her, which kind of led me to, and I don't recommend this. This isn't like the stereotypical way to get someone to come to CR. But we met, we dated a little bit, and we were pretty honest with each other on the front
Yeah,
end and just
we
said,
were.
hey, these are my struggles. I struggle with some things, and she struggled with some things, and we kind of shared that. And then she said, well, why don't you come to CR? You should come to CR. You should come to CR. And then we kind of we went on a date, and then our
Yeah.
first date was, Abuelos.
Dinner and
Yeah,
a Celebrate Recovery
and
meeting.
Should I not say a restaurant? That's probably triggered
I
somebody.
don't know.
Anyway, we went to dinner, and then we went to a Celebrate Recovery meeting.
He doesn't recommend on his end going to CR just because you're going to chase a girl there. But I recommend if you're single and you want to start dating somebody and Celebrate Recovery is part of your life, bring them to this. I knew that
Yeah.
whoever I was dating needed to know that this was a part of my life that I wasn't going to give up. And if they didn't like CR, that was going to be a deal breaker for me. And he came and actually loved it.
Yeah.
So we leveraged that. But this interview isn't about me. It's about Chad. So when you first got there, be honest, what was your very first impression?
I didn't really like it.
We get that a lot from people.
I just was like, golly, they do this thing where they make you come down in the front at the end, and that felt like a Baptist altar call or
They
something.
don't make you get a blue
I know
chip.
they don't make it, but you asked me what I
Okay,
experienced,
yes,
and I'm
true.
not against it. I'm for it now. We can talk about that, but it just felt kind of hokey. And then I loved the energy. I loved kind of the there were a couple things I did like. There were a couple things I didn't. I liked the energy. I liked that it was like kind of like church, and the worship was really good, and there was good energy, but it still kind of felt like a little bit just awkward. People talking about their stuff in public
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me. So I was like, they're going to make me do something weird. I'm going to have to do something weird.
For how many people come the first few times and think this is weird
Man.
and I don't know about this? I'm shocked at how many people stay because I don't think anybody gets there the first night and is like, this is great. I want to share all my stuff now. Like that doesn't
I think I
happen.
was embarrassed.
Oh.
I mean, I think I was embarrassed to be there. I was like, oh, golly, I don't want to be this guy doing this thing. Now I'm one of those people. I mean, you're asking me about the first night. I am
Yeah.
those people now, but like that first night, it was hard to go in there. And it was even more awkward in some ways because I was with you. And I don't mean that to be whatever, but it's like then I had these people that were like coming up to me, like, I mean,
People are pretty protective of me.
a lot of people.
They were then too.
Steve and Al, and I mean, there were a bunch
Luann.
of
There was a whole bunch,
Luann,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, Rodney and Carol. I mean, like the first night, I had like 5 people asking
Who are
me, like,
you and why are
what
you
are you doing?
why are you with him?
Rodney and Rodney, actually, both of them. And I'm like, okay, like this is weird. I'm like, it was like meeting an extended family for the first
My
time.
forever family.
I was like not scared, but like embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh, they all know I've got a problem. like going to the in-laws for the first time and like them all kind of, and it's weird. Right
Tell
here,
us about your
the in-laws.
DWI or
Yeah,
DUI
and
or
I'm
whatever.
like, come on, this is not how this is supposed to go. But
You were kind of under a microscope from the get-go, which is
yeah.
unfair.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I came and it was odd. You wanted the honest opinion.
Yes, I did.
And I was
do.
embarrassed, and I felt like I was kind of like showing myself a little bit, which didn't feel so good. But
Tell me if there is something that you were kind of surprised by in a good way. Like, even though there was that awkward thing, because I think a lot of people will come and be like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know about this. These people are weird. I'm not sure. But the reality is I hear more often than not that there's one or two elements where they were like, but I'm more curious, or I want to figure that out, or I want more of that. Was there something that surprised you in a way that you kind of thought, I think I want a little bit more of that, or I could handle or tolerate a little bit more of that?
I liked the worship. I liked the aspect that it was like kind of transparent. And I know we're only vulnerable. I mean, and you guys, I am defended in every way. Like, I don't just let people, especially back then, I think I was even worse, but I'm like, it's hard for me to open up. So I'm like, if you're not supposed to mouth,
Sorry.
that's rude.
That's crosstalk.
Anyway,
I apologize.
but I am. It's hard for me to open up, and so coming there and seeing some people open up, I had my suspicions that they were fake, right? Like, that was my internal process. But like, I was also like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Like, I think we talked about this earlier. I was like, what do I have to lose? Like, I already kind of knew. I told you about me somewhat. I mean, most of me, and you were there, and I'm like, and I was like. So I kind of came with a friend, and then these other people, I'm like, what are they going to do? They're not going to, like, I don't know, crucify me or something.
If it's really confidential, then nobody should have been coming to me like, oh, you should have heard what he said. It didn't happen. I didn't, nobody, I
I'm
tried.
Sure it did. I'm sure it did.
I tried to get the nitty gritty on him. Everybody said he was a really good guy. I had to believe him.
But I think it was good because I saw people opening up and kind of being honest, and it kind of gave me hope to say, oh, well, maybe people could really do this, or maybe this is really possible. And I think it encouraged me to like want to engage a little bit more. And the energy was good. I mean, there was good, I know that sounds weird, but like just the amount of energy and kind of happiness, it felt a little bit over the top, but it was like with good energy, it just, with that kind of like upbeat playfulness.
I've heard that before, that it does feel, the joy and fun part feels false at first because nobody's expecting it. I mean, the first time visitor thinks this is going to be gloomy or hard or full of shame or regret, or people are going to know my stuff. And so you go in with this perception that it's going to be almost like dark and heavy. When you get there and everybody's light, you're like, this can't be real. How are all these people so happy?
Why are they happy?
But it is almost like contagious, like you want to know.
I know this is weird too, but it's true for me. I was like all the reading and stuff together.
Wasn't your thing.
It creeped me out a little bit. And I don't mean that to be...
There are still people in open share who don't say it works if you work it and it won't. If you don't, it's okay. You just have to... I appreciate that you're sharing your level of comfort and vulnerability. It's good. Okay, let me ask you this.
I would have liked to have done it from my own home. Like a mail-in process or something. Anyway.
Mail in your answers to your step study. We'll review them and get back to you.
Like, I like to sit alone and process.
So I want to ask that. I want to go into that a little bit, because a minute ago you also said, when I first came, I was like, oh, people are sharing their stuff. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But in this program, if it works if you work it, meaning at some point you had to kind of go, okay, I'm going to do this. What was the shift for you where you started to take the risk and share your own stuff? How did you, I want to say, maybe convince yourself to do it?
Well, I don't know if it was convince myself. I was desperate. Like, I was like, I am sick of life the way it is. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to just do this. Like, I think that is, I mean, and I won't say for everybody or anybody else. I'll just talk about me. That is the thing that made the difference for me, was I was like, I'm just going to do the thing. I'm just going to, I don't know how OpenShare works. I don't know why Step Study works. I still don't really know those things. But I know that when I do it, it felt a little bit different. I wouldn't even say better at first. Like, it was just like, oh, that feels a little different.
I think it's actually scary at first.
Yeah. But so I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And gosh, I guess my hard-headedness worked to my advantage in this case, because I didn't quit. Like, I was just like, I'm going to do this, and that's what I'm going to do. And so I worked the program, and the second week I came, I got a blue chip, and I was like, all right, this is weird. I don't feel like I have to go down and do this. Which I know that maybe it sounds like arrogant or self-righteous or something, but I'm like, but I'm going to do it because that's how this is supposed to work. So I'm going to go do this thing that I feel awkward about doing, that I don't like walking in front of people. Again, kind of feel embarrassed. It's like I'm saying, admitting defeat, which is what we're saying, right? Like, and so it's like, I don't like admitting that I don't have this under control or I don't have this solved. But then when I did it, it made a difference. You know,
you just said like you're hard-headed or something like that. But the reality is, when people come to CR, their protection and their defense is the thing that has kept them safe for so long. I mean, we do ask people who come to do things that they've never been in a safe environment to do, to share their stuff, to pursue recovery, to walk down front in a group at church and say there's something wrong with me. And the reality is, if we would have done that in, say, big church or in a different setting, you would have been judged or criticized or whatever. And the CR is one of the only places that if you go down and take a chip admitting there's something wrong, everybody applauds and is proud of you and is like rallying to support you in whatever that thing is, which is so different than anything we've experienced that I appreciate that you kind of, even when you say it, there's a part of you that goes, I don't want to feel like I was prideful, but there was definitely something that was telling me, don't go do this, it's not safe.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a pride thing. It felt like a shame thing.
Yeah.
Like to go out there, I was going to be ashamed, or I was going to be shamed. Even for me, like as you said, like people clap or applaud, like they do, but it's like,
Ugh.
it's like they're like really noticing your failure in some ways for me. And I'm not trying to be a downer
I
about
appreciate
CR,
that you're
but it's like,
sharing your perspective. That's the goal of the
it
interview.
was just hard, you know.
You said something that I really appreciated when you committed to it. Your step study was a little bit different than most people's. And so I want to, as we've talked it through, I know what your step study experience is, but I want you to, if you would share with them what your first step study experience was like.
Man, so I got in a step study right away. I want to say like 6 weeks, maybe right after Christmas, like January, and I'd started in November or something. So it was like I think it was literally 6 weeks after I had started. We started second week in January, so maybe it was 2 months. But I'm like, I jump into step study. There's like 20 people there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna take forever. But then like the second week, there was a different 20 people there, and I'm like, what? How?
Okay.
Like these aren't all the same people. And then the third week, there was like 10 people there, and then that lasted for maybe a month or two, and then by like month 3 or 4, we were down to like 6, maybe 8. And then by month 6, my leaders had relapsed, both of them, and like dropped out of the group. So we didn't have leaders, but there were like 3 of us there. And we were just like, we're in book 3, we're not quitting. And so we just kept meeting. And then Angela eventually asked me about it. She goes, how's step study going? You know, because she's kind of wondering, you know, if I'm really committed or whatever.
How's it going?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I shouldn't tell you this because I think you'll have to tell somebody.
And at the time, I was a leader at
and
where
she
we
goes,
were.
well, now you got to tell me. You know, she kind of got a little pushy.
I'm like, what is going wrong?
I'm like, well, the leaders aren't showing up anymore.
Like, oh my God, you got to tell Rodney. But here's why I want to bring that up, because a few weeks ago when we had the other leader interview, it was a similar experience that the Lisa, who we interviewed, kind of shared that she didn't have a great first time either, and she was consistent or persistent, and stuck it out and ended up finding her healing. And I want to say about Chad, I think about how many people, if the participants were dropping off, if the step study wasn't going the way that they hoped it would or wanted to, if it was a little bit hard, definitely if the leaders quit, I can hear a conversation I'm having with a participant in that scenario who's like, my leaders let me down, everybody's letting me down, and so therefore I'm quitting, and blame everyone else. And I really appreciate Chad there in what he's talking about, that desperation, saying, I'm no one else's responsibility is my recovery. My responsibility is my recovery. And therefore, no matter who falls, even if the leaders fail, I want to pursue this. And there were 3 of us who were remaining, who were like, we're this far in, we might as well finish. And they committed to it, and they did the work. And they didn't rely on leaders, and they didn't even rely on the rest of the group, the people who fell off. And I think how many of our participants would get the recovery that they're looking for if they didn't count on all the people. Now, here's the thing. You want them to be able to count on the leaders. I mean, as a ministry leader, we want our leaders to be reliable. But the reality is our leaders are in recovery just like the rest of us are. And they're only sometimes just like a year more sober than us or a year into it ahead of us. And so they're going to falter too. And so I appreciate the honesty in the story that recovery can work even if people in recovery maybe let you down or fail you. It really depends on your determination to go after healing instead of go after the other things that you're in healing for. So thank you so much for sharing kind of that journey. Now I want to segue really quick to, we shifted and became ministry leaders at New Heights. What was that journey like? I mean, that's a big commitment to make.
I want to jump out of the step study. Like my first step study that I led at New Heights was that way too. Like there were a bunch of transition, like step studies are hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're like not doable. You can do them if you just commit to finish it and work through it and you say, hey, I'm going to give this time to it, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But but we had, you know, a bunch of stuff
Bumps.
go on, and a lot of people drop out and relapse, and lots of stuff go on. So I'm like that. So that was our first experience with ministry at
Yeah.
New Heights too. It was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then we started doing it, and we had a good turnout and all that. But like, a bunch of people drop
They
out,
always
and
start
disappear,
strong, and
yep.
then as you start to get into the second book and into that inventory, life starts happening. It gets really hard. People start going, "Oh gosh, you want me to say what and do what,
Yep.
make amends and forgive," and that's when you start really seeing people drop off, and you kind of recognize at that point the commitment of their recovery, and it sometimes isn't great. Yours was. So let's say as a leader, there you are. Now that's your second step study is leading.
Yeah.
And it was bumpy too. And at that point, we were training leaders to become, to
Hopefully
lead.
lead at CR now.
Tell me
right.
about the early years of you being a ministry leader at CR.
Man, it was, you know, we were not qualified. I mean, nobody is. And we really just showed up and kind of like, I mean, the qualification we had was we could turn stuff on and make it work. Which is,
We could strum and
that is a
we
qualification.
could strum and sing and crock pot have food.
Yeah, and the chili could fall over the floor.
We did that.
And then we could go get more chili.
We dumped chili out all over the
Anyway.
floor one time.
But it was fun. It was like a little adventure, sort of like starting out doing something new and trying to be something different, and kind of all of us kind of pulling together and trying to figure it out. And a lot of us have kind of come and gone, and for all our own good reasons. But you know, just diving into it, I felt like there was just nothing else. I was like, and I think this is what you're asking. It's like I was like, what else am I gonna do? Like I wasn't. I was really kind of a logical process for me. It was like, why would I quit doing the thing that's been working? Like it didn't make any sense for me to step out and do something else, because I'd done a lot of other stuff. I'd been in lots of ministries. I'd been in lots of bad situations too, and I'm like, I know how to mess this up. I know how to mess my life up. And I had friends outside of CR, but a lot of my closest relationships have kind of become inside CR. So I'm like, why wouldn't I just stick with what's working? It didn't make any sense to do something else. So when they asked us to start doing ministry, it just felt like a natural fit to kind of incorporate, you know, what we were already doing into.
We kind of were
our
already
lives.
committed to doing all the things
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Okay, so here's a question I want to ask you. For your own recovery process, and over the course of now, it's been 7 years, 8 years.
9.
Seems like it has been that long. Has it been
Yeah.
9? Since we got married, basically.
Yeah.
This week was our 9-year wedding anniversary, and I think
And I was going to CR for like
since we started dating. Oh, that's right.
10 months earlier
yeah,
than that,
that's
so
true.
it's almost 10 years.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, in your own recovery and in the recovery you've witnessed in all those years of other people going through,
Yeah. Sorry,
we
I
have
gotta move my
both.
foot, it's
That's
falling
okay.
asleep.
We have both seen success
Yeah.
in some situations and not success in some situations. What do you think for yourself and for the people who you've seen find some success is the difference, the key that makes it work for them, where other people are missing it?
Man, you know I'm going to say desperation is the biggest one. Like you have to just say, okay, I'm going to let go of whatever I've
But
been
if you
holding on
get
to.
some recovery, 2 or 3 years in, you don't feel as desperate, then how do you hold on to that desperation? What keeps you sober? What keeps you in a good place?
I mean, I think it's just a recognition that you don't have it all together. I mean, that for me anyway, it's like I continually know that I'm, you know, I don't want to say it in a cliche way. Like I'm like, oh, I'm just one bad choice away from relapse or something. But I'm
But
like,
aren't we all?
yeah, but I'm like, I just really do. I mean, I think you hold on to that desperation, you hold on to that grace, you hold on to that humanity that says, you know what, I'm just a human and I could fall apart at any time, and I'm going to keep doing the things that work. And if they don't work, or if something's missing, I mean, it's like even with what I've been doing, that men's group on Thursday mornings, and it's not like we got thousands of people watching it or something, but like just being able to get in that and kind of say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm doing.
Yeah. A check-in.
That kind of helps me more than anybody. I mean, I'm not, you know, I think that's, and being intentional about, like, I'm going to try to get back into my word or get back into listening to healthy things, or, and I think it's about having a routine. So, I mean, CR was a big part of my routine of like every week. And right now kind of being distant from it, it feels like, oh, this is hard, you know? I keep saying, you know,
It is hard.
I'm aware of that. My public speaking's off, but I do. I think
We won't fault you for it.
it's engaging with something in an intentional way and saying that's the thing that I don't. Man, when you were saying it, you said success. and I'm sorry I'm going a little bit long here, but
It's
like
all right. We got a little bit
you
of
said
time.
success, and I'm like, I don't want to. It's almost like embracing that I can't do it. Like I think that was the thing that really helped me the most was saying, I don't. This isn't my success. This is just my journey. This is my mess. This is my struggle. This is my. And the more I do that, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. You know, it's the leaders and me too. When I just bumped my mic too. When I think about like, okay, I'm gonna do this right, or I've got it together, or I'm doing okay. That's when I feel like it's the most dangerous.
Yeah.
It's when I'm not okay that I'm actually closest to like the need that I'm actually doing better. So
You know, I want to kind of say, we talked about it a little bit earlier when we were prepping for this. It's kind of like a diet. The diet you stick to is the diet that works.
Yeah.
And you said a little bit ago, which I think is so valuable, is when you're in CR and you start to have some success in CR, the way I hear that you're kind of saying is you stick to it. The reality is, if you're 1 or 2 years in and things are starting to go well, why would you ever quit the thing that's actually working?
yeah,
Stick with the thing that's working. I know so many people come in and go, how long is this going to take? And it's hard for me at the beginning answering that question, because I want to say you're asking the wrong question, and in a year or two that question's not going to matter anymore, because once you find the thing that works, and once you have the community that's safe, and once you have people who you've built relationships with in their process as well, you look forward to coming back every week. It shifts
Yeah.
what this is. And so I appreciate that you're sharing
that's the
that.
analogy that we talked about earlier. Like it's the diet analogy.
Yeah.
It's like I cannot. You guys, I'll make a joke of this, but like I can gain weight, y'all. I mean, I'm a good eater.
We can all relapse.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not about me being on a diet. It's about me having this continual choice of like this. I'm gonna eat this other way,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do it every time I sit down to do it. I'm gonna do it that way.
That's
and
hard
so
to do.
it is hard, but it's something that I'm trying to make a choice to do at some point.
But I think
not
here's-
today. I'm still pushing
Here's the
that
thing,
off.
though.
But
For the
yeah.
last 10 years, and even prior to that, from 2006 when I started, it was Friday nights, but now Sunday nights, it's a commitment. And every now and then we like to be honest with people that there are times when we're exhausted and we want a Sunday night off or whatever.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I'll take 1 Sunday or 2 Sunday nights off a year, and that's enough for me, because I want this to be a consistent thing in my life. Because if it's not consistent, then it starts to slip away really quick. The gains that I have start to slip away. A diet is the same. If I'm working it well, it works. But if I take a weekend off, or if I take 2 weekends off, before you know it, I've slipped back into this place where it's not good anymore. And so I like that analogy. It doesn't have to be an institution, but the reality is, if it's working for you,
I will be healthier if I live this way.
yeah.
And it's not.
And we have been.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say, there's 2 things I still think we should talk about.
Okay,
And I
good.
know I've only
And then
got-
we have to wrap up.
Well,
and-
we got like 17 minutes.
Okay.
I know you're the boss of this, but that's okay.
no, not tonight.
But so the one thing is OpenShare. We didn't really talk about
Okay.
that. I think it's important. I mean, and again, it's
Tell
one
me
of those,
about OpenShare, Chad.
Thanks. Good question, Ange. But for me, it was just going and engaging with some people and practicing telling my story, telling how I was doing, talking about me. You know, and I would get off track, or I would mess up. Sometimes I would not use I and me statements and get corrected and kind of be offended and be like, oh, I don't want to go back, because they're going to be all rigid or whatever. But the truth is, it helped me kind of refocus
Yeah.
and re-engage and kind of think about what I was experiencing or what I was saying. You know, and I was in OpenShare crying one time, and somebody like redirected me, and I had to be like, oh yeah, like sometimes when I feel a lot, I kind of just, the words come out and I'm not really paying attention to them. So it kind of helped me really pay attention to my story, to my emotions, to my gut, and kind of organize that. So that's one thing. The other thing that I
It's
think
hard. I want to,
Go ahead.
before we jump, it's hard for the leader and for the participants. Imagine a leader in an OpenShare trying to maintain the guidelines, and somebody gets off IME statements or starts talking and they're crying and it's hard for the leader to interrupt. And having now been a leader, having to do that to people, it does create kind of this awkward. But the reality is, in our recovery process, it's important for us to be able to take little correction and take direction and take guidance in the middle of our emotion. Because if we can't, then we stay stuck. And it's a really hard thing to learn, but I love that you're bringing it up, because those people who are willing to kind of, I want to say, subject themselves to the guidance, to the correction, and say, I am offended and my body tells me I should be mad at you for correcting me, but actually you are a person who's building safety in a safe relationship, and I want to trust your guidance, and therefore I'll take your correction and lean into it. and it shifts something. And I want to really point that out, how hard it is in CR to allow your body to take direction from a sponsor or from an accountability partner, from a leader, when in our previous lives, if you're going to call it that, you wouldn't want anyone to speak into your deep emotion or your hard place. And so that's a really good point. Okay, what was the second thing?
The second thing was just writing the testimony. I know that we don't think about that a lot, but I'm like, I mean, I guess we say it a lot.
Everybody who hasn't written a testimony, write one. If you've already written one, rewrite it. Give us a COVID update one.
There is something that is worthwhile to like putting your story out on paper and kind of like writing the whole thing out. I do not like to journal. It's bad. I know you guys should journal also, but I don't like to. I don't like to write stuff. I don't like, but man, I'm sitting down. I remember I did this actually on a vacation, and I wrote a bunch of it in a swimming pool in San Diego. And so I wrote a lot of my testimony there. I know, but I'm like sitting there on the side of the pool typing, like under an umbrella, like just kind of floating. And I'm like, I write this testimony out. I'm like, there's just something freeing about putting it all together. And so I think that helped me too, kind of gain perspective on, oh, this is my story. Like, this isn't just...
That was the year we went to the summit.
Yep. And this is my story. This isn't just some thing that's happened, or it's not just, I don't know. It just helped. It helped me organize it. And it kind of made sense of it. So it was something that was good for me. I think all the pieces are important, but having your story in a coherent flow that makes sense and putting it even in 20 minutes, it really kind of made me focus on these are the big things that kind of hurt, and this is kind of how that worked for me. I don't think that my testimony or is so great or so much different than somebody else's, but something about putting my own story to paper and kind of reading it a bunch of times, like 7 or 8 times I gave it, it just made me go, okay, that feels different. Like I could own my story then.
I think even then you just kind of said, I don't think my story is so much big, greater, or different or whatever. But the reality is, I think something that Celebrate Recovery does, that I think Jesus does for us, is he says, even though he loves all of his children, he makes each one of us feel loved uniquely. And I think that's something that CR says is, even though we all have a hurt, habit, or hang up, everybody's story is unique and important and valuable, and that testimony highlights it.
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity to say, maybe my story has been minimized or dismissed in all other capacities of my life. Maybe my family of origin doesn't honor it, or maybe people in my community haven't honored it, but I'm going to get the stand and I'm going to get the mic for this 20 minutes and I'm going to share the chronological story of
my perspective of my story.
And I'm going to share it. And then at the end of sharing, to be met with acceptance and people who say, thank you for sharing, that made an impact on me. It's a huge thing that happens for me when I see it happen in other people, like in your brain, when you get to rewrite a positive experience around sharing your story, when everything in your body your whole life has told you, don't share your whole story. Yep. Nobody wants to hear it. It's not that valuable or important.
Or they want to correct it, or they want to tell you it was different, or whatever the thing was. And it's like that correction actually tells you not to believe your own gut, your own memory, your own experience. And so sitting down and writing it out helped me.
It's very valuable. I appreciate. We didn't even talk about talking about testimonies, and it's a great pitch for a testimony. If you haven't,
it's not. I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, it was probably the most freeing thing, but it's just like getting a blue chip. It feels embarrassing. You tell your story the first time you do it.
It's terrifying.
I mean, I took one breath and I said the whole thing.
You did.
The first time.
It's true.
I was like.
I thought he's going to pass smooth out.
I thought it was too, but I want to say that it isn't. CR isn't like it's not one thing. It's a bunch of little things. It's a lot of struggling and saying, hey, I'm just gonna commit to do the things.
Yeah.
Who is it? A friend of ours that just said, "Oh, just showed up and do whatever you say, boss," or whatever. That's my impression
what
of
he
someone.
has done? He's found recovery.
But me too,
right?
Because I just showed up and I'm like, what is the next thing I'm supposed to do? And I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And if you're desperate enough, if you don't want to be trapped, you're willing to do whatever
Yeah.
you have to do to get out of it. And
All
that's
the
what
little
worked.
pieces. We
Yeah.
were watching this. I'll end it on this, and then we'll kick it back over. We were watching this basketball movie a couple of months ago about. Actually, it was about a guy who was an alcoholic who was trying to restart his life, and he was coaching basketball. He had this team that was far behind in the season, and they were slowly starting to win until they got into the playoffs. You know, like the great underdog. I think it was called The Hard Way Back. Worth watching if you want to see somebody try to make a recovery of their life from alcohol. But he said to the team, he said, listen, we're not a big showy team. We don't have all the talent out there. But if you make little moves, if you do this, if you come down the court right, if you pass right, if you communicate to each other, if you rebound, if you make all these little in-game moves, then you're going to be a team that's hard to beat. And I feel like that's how recovery is. If in recovery we are willing to show up, go to Open Share, go to Step Study, get an accountability team, talk to your sponsor, write your testimony, become a leader, come consistently, don't give up on the nights where you don't want to show up, actually continue to show up. If you work it, it really does work. And before you know it, you're sailing along in your recovery and you recognize this has worked. Why would you quit it after it has worked? And so that's our pitch. Obviously, you know, we love CR.
Sorry, I'm
So
doing something real quick that I think I forgot to do.
He's doing like 5 things.
It's okay.
What are you doing and what do I need to do?
I'm just double checking something.
Oh, okay. Should I kick back or keep going?
You can kick it back and we'll do a blue chip.
Okay, so now we're going to kick it over to Justin.
Yeah, crosstown.
Crosstown bound. If something in Chad's testimony really touched you and you recognize that maybe you need to be a little bit more desperate, or maybe you need to work on your testimony, maybe during this COVID season, you've had some extra time on your hands and you can sit down and actually write out your story. Maybe you can hang out at somebody's pool and type it up. Who knows? But if you can get your story on paper, that's an important thing. And as soon as we meet in person again, I'll put you on the schedule. That's a really good thing to do too. If any of that has kind of touched you and you want to take a blue chip, we'd love to celebrate with you. Feel free to mark it in the comments or message us.
Yeah.
Not message.
You can, however you get us a message. Yeah, any format. But no, y'all, I do want to say, like, it is worthwhile to just work the steps, man. And you know what?
Yeah.
During COVID, if you have time to write your testimony, sit down and do it. It is, even if you don't share it right away, or even if you think, heck, this is too long or too short, or just put something on paper and show it to somebody.
We can help you. Kind of the process of editing it is hard sometimes too. Sometimes we have to take 40 minutes, condense it to 20, or sometimes it's 12, and we have to help you fill out the story. Either way, we're here to help you. We've done it before, and we can help you do it. So let's kick it over to Justin for a final worship song, and then we'll wrap up for the night.
Thanks.
I am guilty, ashamed of what I've done, what I've become. These hands are dirty. I dare not lift them up to the Holy One. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome, you gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be? How can it be?
Hey guys,
Okay,
back.
hi. Sorry,
Avery
we have
wanted
a
to say hi too.
A little helper here. Here's our mic.
Hi.
Say hi. Thank you, Justin. That was awesome. And now we're gonna.
All right.
Can you say hi? My name is Avery.
Hi, my name is Avery.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Yes. Shut the door. Okay,
Thanks.
we're gonna. Oopsie
You're a good
daisy.
girl.
Love you. Okay, we have a fun little. I had to help her, so my mic is off.
We're about to do the Serenity Prayer.
Please read along. Fun little mashup Serenity Prayer for you. Check out all the faces.
Here we go.
Hey, Forever family at New Heights. It's so good to be able to join you tonight. But we want to read the Serenity Prayer with you tonight. Would you join us in reading this out loud?
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace.
taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will,
so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.
All right. That was
good.
fun. We had them, and I thought, oh, I might as well just put them together. I've got a whole lot more of them since we've been doing this since March. So chances are for the next couple of weeks, I might put some of those together. Those are kind of fun, actually.
It's good to see more faces. in
Yeah,
that.
to see everybody's face that we
Anyway.
would normally see.
Y'all, thanks for
Man,
letting me share tonight
yeah.
and talk
You
about
did a
my
great
stuff.
job. I appreciate it. Normally, I wouldn't touch or pat the person who shared
Trigger.
because we're not allowed to, but I'm married
No.
to this one. So
Aw,
I'm
thanks,
glad
babe.
I coaxed you
Yep.
to celebrate recovery that first time 10 years ago.
It worked.
Changed my life, that's for sure. All right,
I'm
guys.
not gonna say anything.
We
I got nothing but bad jokes in my
he
head.
just
All right.
you guys, I had to really I had to come down hard on him so that he would take the interview seriously, because when we practiced it, he was telling jokes left and right, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to go
I was
well, and I
almost in
can't
big
be mad
trouble
at
again.
you 2 Sunday nights in a row.
It was
live
almost a big
on the internet.
on the interweb.
On the interweb. Okay, guys,
You guys,
we
thank you.
love you. We miss
Yeah.
you. We look forward to being in person with you. But until then,
For sure.
pray for us as we travel. We'll be leaving Louisiana soon.
Yep.
And heading
We'll be
back
home soon.
heading back to Northwest
Yeah.
Arkansas. So you guys have a lovely week. Remember, you can tune in if you're a female to our gender-specific Wednesday morning encouragement group that happens at 8:30, or if you're a male on Thursday mornings, Chad will just speak a little word of encouragement into your life. If you're interested in either one of those, message us. We'll add you to the private Facebook groups. If you're not on Facebook,
I'll
I
probably have a
apologize.
beard by next week. We'll see. Let me not shave again.
Yes, hoping we'll get
I got
that
this
back.
thing going on.
It's
It's
okay. Don't worry about that. Listen. Chin out. That's how you have to talk. Okay, we've got no. Please. Oh my God.
What are you guys doing over
Stop. Please stop.
What?
We need to stop.
There's nothing wrong
This
with
needs
that.
to
Look,
end.
it's just right here.
Stop, please. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling
It'll
embarrassed
stick
now.
like that. I gotta do
Okay,
this.
it's time for us to go.
What do you do? This thing?
Please, did you end this already?
No, I'm about to.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
You guys,
help.
we miss you guys.
Help.
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 Help. Your help comes from the Lord, Angela.